Hey everyone, Daniel here and welcome back to another video. Here today, we have a lot to cover about not just the VGX token, but Voyager Digital stock itself as one of the biggest and brightest minds in the community of people who analyze Voyager Digital stock. Pat Ackerman just released a brand new report about exactly the situation going on with Voyager and his new kind of predictions and models for the company going forward. So if you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing and let's get into it. So I've actually went ahead and highlighted some of the most important things that he said, and we're going to go through these things one by one. So Voyager Digital assets under management growth. AUM has grown 112% per month year to date. There was a big spike in January and February, followed by continued double-digit growth in March and April. Even when with Bitcoin flat over the last couple of months, excluding January and February, the last 1.5 years has seen a 38% growth month per month. That's insane. And I anticipate an unbelievable Q1 2021 revenue number during the next earnings call. So we have a lot to uncover here. First, he's talking about assets under management. If you have covered this channel at all over the past couple of months, you know that Voyager Digital has been growing substantially over the past couple of months, when not just on a basis of potentially, trades executed, new funded accounts, but assets under management. Here he points out that we saw a bump in January and February, and then a bit of a, slowdown in that continued growth in February and March and April. Now this is expected. Obviously, it's the law of large numbers. As we increase in value, the percentages will go down naturally. And he also pointed out that Bitcoin did stay flat over the past couple of months. Obviously January and February, we had a large run up in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency prices, causing assets under management at Voyager to increase exponentially alongside them. That provided a very nice tailwind. But what we've seen over the past couple of months is that Voyager doesn't need a rise in Bitcoin prices to continue growing in a massive way. We've seen assets under management continue to increase substantially despite Bitcoin staying flat, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then he kind of shows us the average kind of growth month over month over the last 1.5 years. And then he also points out that we're about to see a phenomenal Q1 report. And, I completely agree with this. I've looked at pretty much every single monthly data when it comes to Voyager on a revenue basis and things along those lines. And, there is no reason why Voyager as a company can't get anywhere from $50 to $60 million in revenue for Q1 of 2021. And obviously that's, nothing compared to what we're going to see in Q2 and Q3, but what we've seen is absolutely phenomenal, and I expect this to continue growing going forwards. Now, next thing he covers here is obviously, assets under management, kind of shown in different graphs and whatnot, but here is funded account growth. And what we've seen with funded account growth is this has been increasing exponentially alongside assets under management. So far, user growth has been a mere 154% per month so far in 2021. Obviously now total funded accounts are sitting roughly at 400,000. I think this graph really shows the growth we've experienced in total funded accounts when it comes to Voyager. And you really see 2021 is when we really started to see the start of that exponential growth curve. And in my opinion, this is very well to be expected for the remainder of at least this year, as long as cryptocurrencies remain popular within the investment community. Now, we've covered the positives. Now we got to go to a little bit of the negatives. And he actually points this out. Growth comes at a cost. Any plans Steve and the team had on platform resources, support staff, team resources, capital requirements going into 2021 were completely thrown out the window a few weeks into the year. A 2-year-old company just becoming profitable in Q4 2020 with 25 employees at the end of December was faced with all the following in a short 3 to 4 month window. A DNS attack, a 1 to 2 day explosion of new users back in January, banking problems, customer fraud, Twitter attacks, relentless support tickets, and more. All of this was and is being responded to by the small and mighty Voyager team while keeping customer funds safe. Obviously, we know Voyager has been experiencing a lot of negativity despite the phenomenal growth we have seen. I don't want to cover too much because he actually responds to a lot of these things, but just generally speaking, the fact that they've gone through all of this essentially unexpected user growth in 2021 and still managed to keep the platform up for a large majority of the time, be able to continue accepting new users onto the platform, continue expanding the platform when it comes to new features, new tokens, new interest rates, and things along those lines is absolutely phenomenal. And in my opinion, as we continue to go forwards, it's a situation where, it's not Steve Ehrlich and the team just slacking off. It's them working as hard as possible and trying to expand their team to essentially keep up with the new growth that we're seeing. So once they eventually do, catch up to the amount of employees needed for the demand they're experiencing, a lot of these problems will go away and have been going away over the past couple of weeks. We've seen a lot of problems solved at Voyager. Wait times for, wait lists or deposits or withdrawals are improving every single day, and they're continuing to implement new features like artificial intelligence to essentially help speed up the process with things like withdrawals. Let's keep going. Crypto is 24/7. 365 days a year. And if your support ticket isn't getting answered or deposit isn't completing, some customers can lose trust. This is reality and consequence of this growth. But let's not lose sight of how complicated and difficult these issues are to solve quickly. Steve mentioned in an interview last week that Voyager is up to 100 employees. Growth of accounts has to be 937% from December 2020 to April 2021. Support staff alone likely need to grow at least 10 to 15x to keep up pace with customer tickets, and that doesn't necessarily account for all the future growth. This is only one of over 5 issues that the company is currently facing and is actively solving, not to mention new features and functionality that is promised to be delivered. Again, as mentioned previously, Voyager Digital, Steve Ehrlich is continuing to expand their team and continuing to expand their programming to allow for quicker times when it comes to all of these problems, like obviously tickets and withdrawals and whatnot. What Pat here says is essentially that, I don't necessarily agree with this 100%, that the amount of employees that Voyager has will need to be parallel with the growth that they experience. A lot of the, kind of problems like withdrawals can be solved pretty easily, like with an artificial intelligence implementation, which will be coming to fruition within the next couple of weeks here. They actually answered that in an email a couple days ago. But, obviously Voyager is a very profitable company. And one of the main things that they need to be focusing right now is, continuing to admit new individuals, new employees to the platform. They can obviously afford it, and that will really help strengthen the wait, or kind of decrease the wait times as time goes on. I mean, Steve said his goal by the end of this year is to be the best kind of cryptocurrency company in the industry when it comes to customer service. How is he going to do that? He's going to do that by continuing to hire at a massive pace throughout the rest of the year to really take these problems and withdrawals to a very small level, to a point where if you need help, you'll get that help most likely within the hour, which is absolutely phenomenal and will really help drive growth for the remainder of 2021 once we get these problems sorted out. Not to mention the fact that they're currently in a 120-day system upgrade that will allow for essentially 10 million users of capacity at one time. That's supposed to kind of complete within the next month or two. Let's keep going. The fascinating part is the business metrics show Voyager customers are still coming to the platform at ever-increasing rates and bringing more assets alongside that. Now, this is one of the most positive and really just relieving things. We've had all of this negativity happen to the Voyager platform while still maintaining a phenomenal growth rate. So if you're someone who's invested in the VGX token or Voyager Digital stock, this is one of the best things that we can hear, because normally, one of the reasons that the stock dropped so much because of this whole situation is investors thinking, oh no, people are waiting for their withdrawals or their deposits, they're going to leave the platform and Voyager's going to experience negative growth. We haven't seen that. In fact, we have seen exponentially positive growth at Voyager despite these problems, which are absolutely phenomenal from an investor and cryptocurrency investor's point of view, because you're seeing Voyager handle these problems. You're essentially seeing them continue to grow alongside that, and that is absolutely phenomenal. Let's keep going. As an investor in Voyager, I continue to focus on the long-term growth and experience I get as a customer. The short-term has and will continue to be impacted by issues. Each investor needs to weigh the current risks, the growth potential, and other investment opportunities for themselves. I agree with this. This isn't financial advice. I'm just telling you guys my opinion. When it comes to what he's saying here, like I said before, in the short term, the stock market is a slot machine. Anything can happen, especially at Voyager. In the long run, though, it is a weighing machine, and once Voyager fixes these problems and allows for their customer service team to execute on a high level, we're going to be back to a company with very, very minimal risk and a very nice path of growth going forwards. The VGX made a cliff pricing model has seen better days. Now, this is essentially the system or the kind of like the law that Pat here uses to really identify potential growth with both the token and the stock. And before we keep going here, I really want to kind of give you guys a comparison as to what else uses the Metcalfe's law. I'm going to show you guys this chart right here, or this one right here. If you look at the Bitcoin chart, if you have seen this whatsoever, which I'm assuming a lot of you have, this is Metcalfe's law. Essentially, using Bitcoin wallets, the number of Bitcoins created, and Bitcoin's price, you can use Metcalfe's law to determine a prediction of price going forwards. What we've seen with Bitcoin is essentially a kind of a comparison of this that is absolutely phenomenal because it shows you exactly how well this law worked in predicting the price of Bitcoin over time, over the past decade, and potentially going forwards. Now, what Pat here uses this for is for both the VGX token and potentially for the stock. From December 2020 to beginning of March, it was flawless. It worked perfectly. Remember that the model worked because the theory was a certain percentage of new users would buy VGX for benefits on Voyager, growing the network of customers receiving benefits. It was turned on its head from March forwards with delays in the swap, the token swap. Voyager is merging with another, the VGX token is merging with another token to create kind of this nice VGX token that is compatible with the new Voyager loyalty program. This was delayed and really turned this program on its head because a lot of customers are not yet able to use the benefits that this new Voyager loyalty program will provide once it gets through. So essentially, these are some growing pains that Voyager is dealing with. I will be fascinated to see once the Voyager loyalty program launches how numbers trend to see when we will hit previous targets. Obviously, this is just a delay. So once this kind of Voyager loyalty program does go through, we're going to get a situation where essentially all of the people that didn't participate in the Voyager loyalty program before will most likely go onto the platform and purchase tokens for themselves to immediately kind of participate in the token, which could lead to a rapid increase in token price in the short term. Let's keep going. Next thing we talk about here is essentially the price and kind of what we've seen over the past couple of months here, given this kind of obviously delay with the swap and the token. And then we see the stock, right? He actually mentions that the stock has lagged on behalf of the assets under management Metcalfe law, right? So what we use for the stock is potentially a comparison between assets under management and the stock, because we know that there is a large similarity between an increase in assets under management and an increase in revenue. And the stock is directly correlated with the revenue that Voyager brings as a company. So what we've seen, as you see here, this is related to issues as well, but also is related to growth in outstanding company shares. Remember, Voyager needed to raise funds to make strategic investments in infrastructure, support staff, and other resources because of all of the growth. Now, he mentions this, but in my opinion, Voyager diluted maybe 5 to 7% of their stock. So that doesn't really make this decline in stock price one of kind of like an implication of that. This is mainly what we're seeing now with this decrease in stock price. Obviously, it's recovering a little bit now, but a lot of this was due to the fact that Voyager was experiencing these issues when it comes to customer deposits, withdrawals, and waitlists. Obviously, this has not impacted Voyager's growth whatsoever, which is why, in my opinion, the stock is dirt cheap right now based on what Voyager is doing as a company. Stock dilution has been averaging 6% per month in 2021 versus 3% per month in 2020. This just shows that the model will need to be adjusted to essentially kind of price in the impact of this dilution Keep in mind, this is a very little bit of dilution here. He's at 6% so far in 2021. They're going to be doing a stock buyback of roughly 5% of their shares. So, this doesn't impact the company as much as you might think. But generally speaking, the stock buyback paired with a little bit of dilution should kind of cancel each other out. Next thing we got going here is this partnership that Voyager just announced with Market Rebellion. As an investor, this will bring more revenue to Voyager and expand the utility function of VGX, giving it more value over time. It's a powerful, unique offering in the expanding marketplace. Keep in mind, this partnership will allow Voyager to essentially offer stock trading on their platform, to where you can buy Tesla, Amazon, Apple stock with your VGX token or with your Bitcoin. I don't expect the new functionality to go live in 2021. It's more likely a 2022 item. But I am sure we will hear plenty more on this topic throughout the remainder of the year. So now this is a bit of a yellow flag. I didn't put this red, I put this yellow because obviously, best case scenario, we get a situation where this partnership ends up coming to fruition potentially in the back half of 2021. And if that happens, that is incredible. But what kind of Pat is saying here is that he doesn't expect this to happen until at least 2022, which is right around a year away. So when we look at this partnership here with Market Rebellion, although it is phenomenal, it really depends on how quick they can execute, as this will open up a phenomenal opportunity for them to expand into much more than just the cryptocurrency sector. Conclusion. But all things considered, the team has faced adversity remarkably well in 2021. Issues and delays have been impacted by the Metcalfe pricing model, and we'll keep an eye on how it responds once utility is in place. Crypto to stocks is coming to Voyager with industry titans, but likely in 2022. So anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here. If you found any value whatsoever, feel free sharing it with a fellow Voyager investor. Thank you, and see you all next time.